Today, on this episode of The Crossover, we will be discussing surviving brain cancer 30 days to realize nothing is impossible with brain cancer survivor, best selling author, and motivational speaker Logan Sneed. Learn how major life adversity can become an opportunity for personal growth and maximal self improvement. Much more on this episode of The Crossover. Good afternoon, everyone. Going to be talking with Logan Sneed today. Incredible motivational individual who's overcome brain cancer.
Hey,
Logan, what's going on,
how's
man?
it going, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, awesome to see you as well, man. It looks like you're a IG Live expert.
Oh man, dude, I used to do in my long keto days, I did 2 lives a day for 2 years straight. Every
All
single
right.
meal that I ate, I would literally go live. So
All right.
yeah.
Well, perfect, man. Listen, I'm going to do a brief intro just while everyone's logging on here. We have the pleasure of speaking with my friend here, Logan Sneed. Really is one of the most inspirational individuals you'll ever meet. If you have any time, just look at his account. Unbelievable feed that he has here on Instagram. As you know, as background, Logan is a brain cancer survivor. He's a best-selling author and a motivational speaker. He was diagnosed with grade 4 glioblastoma over 6 years ago. He subsequently underwent brain surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, and grew through all of his experiences, both mentally and physically. The most critical day, and we'll get into this, is the day that he started his ketogenic diet. Although doctors at the time told him that nothing else could be done, this diet, he believes, really saved his life, and we'll go into how that has transformed him. Amazingly, it's been 6 years. All of his MRIs are completely clean, and he's been deemed cancer-free. Following his diet, he's not only saved his own life doing that, but has also transformed lives worldwide. Thousands of people make the decision to follow his program, which is called Fusion Lean, in order to change their lives and really create a better version of themselves. And he's here today to discuss surviving brain cancer, 30 days to realize nothing is impossible. So Logan, so psyched to have you on here, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm excited too. It's cool to talk to a brain surgeon who can understand kind of the world of brains.
Well, that's what we're going to get into today, kind of what is the patient perspective, because, obviously I do this every single day, but understanding the patient's perspective is so important. Let's get into, how did you first find out that you had a brain tumor?
Oh man. So I was, again, so kind of the question of how did I find out? I was actually randomly one day, I was driving to the gym and I was in such a great mood that I decided to FaceTime my ex-girlfriend in the middle of driving. And I've never registered in my mind to FaceTime and drive at the same time, but I decided to do that. So as I'm doing that, I was like talking to her, I was driving and I was trying to say stuff, but I couldn't say it. And it was literally like right here on my tongue, but I couldn't say what I wanted to say. So I started massively stuttering, slurring my words as if somebody's like, drunk, right? And then boom, I just started having a seizure while I was in the middle of driving. So I was like literally going probably like 50 to 60 miles an hour down the road, and she was watching the seizure happen. And I went unconscious and then drove straight into a ditch. Absolute miracle. There was no damage, no injuries or anything.
Wow.
So that led to obviously going to the hospital. Ambulance came, they broke into my car. I was unconscious. And then I woke up in the hospital. And when I woke up, they were like, "Are you okay? Do you know what this is from?" And I was like, "I've never had a seizure in my life. I have no clue where this is from." And so they did all the drug testing. They did every single thing. They're like, "Yeah, we have no idea. And the only thing that we could do is get an MRI." So, and feel free to interrupt me here because it's a decently long.
No, keep going, man. Keep going. It sounds great.
But yeah, and after the MRI came in, they were like, "Yep, there's definitely something there." And I'll send you a picture after this. I wish I could pull it up on here, but it was the size of an egg. It was a perfect egg that was in there. They're like, "Wow, okay, you have to see a neurologist as soon as possible." So I went to go see a neurologist, and the neurologist was like, "Yo, you got to see a neurosurgeon as soon as possible." So all within 24 hours, maybe, I went to go see a neurosurgeon here in downtown Austin. Yeah, go ahead.
Now let me stop you and let me ask you, You just get a new diagnosis of a brain tumor. What was the first reaction in your mind, right? Because that's got to be one of the scariest diagnoses possible. What is your first reaction, your first thoughts when the doctor tells you you have a brain tumor?
So it never registered to me at that point because I still didn't get it. I still, like, the word cancer, the word brain tumor, it never had come up yet. It was called a mass. And so I was like, okay, right. And it never crossed my mind that cancer would ever come up into my life because I was healthy. I was, a good kid. I was like, great, right? Life was perfect. So it just never crossed my mind. And whenever they did say, hey, you go see a neurosurgeon, that was getting a little sketchy, but it still never really worried me in a way. But then it really, really changed. And I'm not going to say the guy's name because I don't remember his name, but he was a brain surgeon here in downtown Austin. And as soon as I met him, the very first words that he said was, good to meet you, but you won't be able to speak or hear after this surgery. And I was like, whoa. And that was a shocking moment. And
I mean, way to really inspire confidence.
I mean, it was horrible. But you know what's even worse is that, I know you understand this, everyone else doesn't, but obviously we didn't know what the tumor was. And he said, oh yeah, so I mean, we're gonna have to get this done, probably pretty quick, but I think what we'll have to do is I'm actually going on vacation for 2 weeks with my family, and then I'll be back, and then we can start, figuring this out here. And I'm like, okay, so I either don't speak or hear again and potentially live a little bit longer, or I just speak and hear and then die, right? So what do I do? Thankfully, my parents are very, very hard-nosed. They were like, we walked out of there and they were like, we're going to find a better surgeon, somebody who actually has confidence. And so I don't know if you know Dr. Raymond Sawaya at all.
Of course. Yeah, he's a legend. He's great.
Yeah. So I was connected at MD Anderson to Dr. Raymond Sawaya, and this is all in like the next 24 hours. I went to go see him, and I was like, yo, like, can I speak or hear after this surgery? Because this is serious stuff. And he was like, no, don't even worry about it. Like, I'll make this so easy. It'll be totally fine. We'll make it happen. And I was like, whoa, okay, sure. And he said, but we've got to have surgery like as soon as possible at 6 a.m. tomorrow. And I was like, whoa, okay, brain surgery, sure. So as you know, right, like, I had to go through all this like training, touch your nose and what day is it, who's president, like all these sort of things, all within like a 12-hour window from literally like 7 a.m. that day till 7 p.m. that night to then wake up at 6 a.m. It was so overwhelming that I literally like was going to get like, I think my second MRI in that day or something. I forget what I was doing. And I just passed out. I was just so stressed out. I just fainted. And one of the doctors caught me. Then it was like, oh God, what's happening? Is you have another seizure? I wasn't. So anyways, come in the next day for brain surgery. It's like 6 a.m. And I mean, I know you're a brain surgeon, but in a patient's point of view, it was very, very, very scary. And it wasn't even necessarily scary about like saying, hey, I'm going to go have brain surgery. It was more scary walking into the hospital at 6 a.m. in the morning at MD Anderson Cancer Center when you've got, it's like you're walking down the aisle at a church, right? And you walk down the aisle and you've got all these other people in the aisle, and walking down this at 6 a.m. and the sun's hasn't risen yet. You've got family one over here bawling their eyes out because their dad's having surgery. This family over here is, already, shaking because their kid's having surgery. And then this one and this one and this one. So I'm walking down this aisle and I'm like, whoa, like, this is sketchy. And so then obviously, I went and had the surgery. It was about, I think it was 8 hours is what it was.
So let me go back a little bit. Take me through your absolute hopes, fears, and emotions as they're bringing you into the operating room for brain surgery.
Yeah. I mean, I could just feel based on what Dr. Sawaya told me, I was like, okay, that is a very bold, confident statement. And if he's confident, there's no reason why I can't be confident. And I don't know. I just felt like very, very at peace with it. I was like, okay, this is going to go well. And honestly, based on, I didn't know anything about tumors. I had no idea about any of this stuff, but just based on what I saw from the MRI, and they said, hey, look, this is a perfect egg. I was like, okay, seems pretty simple, at least, you know, from a surgeon's point of view. It's not like this crazy octopus that's all up, you know, in my brain, right? So I was like, he seems confident, like I'm going to do that. And so that's that, based on what he said is what gave me that confidence, really.
Now, based off of your experience, if you could tell brain surgeons a piece of advice after you went through that, what is the single most important thing you would recommend to brain surgeons when they meet and interact with their patients?
Yeah, I mean, I think really just connecting. I mean, one reason why I massively respect you guys is because you guys get it, right? You guys get what is in the brain. Like, you get what's going on. You may not get what it's like being a patient, nor do we understand what it's like to be a surgeon. But if we can like actually relate in one way or another, it's going to really help these patients not think, oh my God, he's going to suddenly save my life and it's all up to him. But it's more in the sense of like, I'm more open to feeling more safe. And if somebody feels safe, they build more trust. And when they build more trust, they're more open to hearing what you have to say and listening to what you would recommend, right? Not that it says like, oh, you've got to go do meditation and keto and, you know, perfect fasting every day. Not that everyone will do that. It's recommended, but I understand y'all's legal pieces of it, but it's just more of like, it's more of a connection. It's more of a teamwork process in a way. And I just think that surgeons have the ability to relate to these patients because they understand. Because I can go to a therapist and say, hey, therapist, like I've got to get brain surgery. And they're like, oh, for sure. Like, you know, I know that's hard, but they don't know it's hard because they've never had it, you know? And even going to somebody like testicular cancer, it's like, yeah, it's bad. Like, it's not good, but it's like, it's completely different than brain surgery and brain cancer diagnosis. But you guys get it. And you guys have that ability to relate to them.
But how important is the confidence? You kind of alluded to that earlier, right? Some people can be very soft-spoken. Maybe their confidence comes out in different ways. Other people can be like Dr. Sawaya and just tell you this is a walk in the park. How important is that confidence as a patient to feel that on the other end?
I mean, that was like my life right there. I mean, like because if he wasn't confident, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, if he wasn't confident, I had two options. Either A, I just don't get the surgery and potentially die soon, but I can still speak and hear. But if he said, oh yeah, you definitely won't speak or hear. Now I get it. Certain tumors, certain positions, different situations. But if like he said the same thing, that I may have not gotten the surgery. I don't know, you know, like, so it's a huge piece of it. Like, it literally was my entire life. And because of what he said, it has given me the confidence for literally anything down the road in my life. Like, it's not that he told me about keto. This was like 6 and 7 years ago, but it gave me the confidence that based on what he said and how he said it shows that there are so many more things out there than what one person tells me.
That's so important to note. And I think you said that he gave you confidence. Let's talk about after the surgery, after you had pathology that showed that it was an aggressive grade 4 glioblastoma, and you faced chemotherapy and radiation. What was your mental approach to that challenge?
Oh man, well, things got a lot worse after the surgery, because after the surgery, he came into the room and said, hey, it's all removed, 100% removed. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, life goes on. Like, just got to recover. I'll be on my way. And that wasn't a diagnosis. That was, hey, it's fully removed, right? So I come back, I think, crazy enough, there was actually they actually sent the email of the diagnosis on accident a week and a half later. And I couldn't register it in my mind. They accidentally sent it. My mom was in her office and she started freaking out. And obviously was like in, you know, such an emotional state. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Like, everything all good? So I sat in there. The neuro-oncologist called in, was like, oh my God, like, we did not mean to do this. We're so sorry about this. And I was like sitting there, I was like, what? I still don't really get what's going on. So then we went to go get the full, like, real diagnosis. And the doctor, again, I won't say names, but the doctor came in, and this is where it got even worse. She said, hey, look, this is a stage 4 glioblastoma tumor. You've got a 1 to 10 year life expectancy. we won't be able to do anything about it. We'll give you chemo, oral chemo. We'll do radiation, but nothing else that we can possibly do. That's it. And so when she told me that, I mean, the best of the best, one of the most difficult jobs in the world, and you're talking to a 20-year-old, kid, I'm like, wow, okay, nothing can be done. And I don't know hardly anything about what to do. So what is there to do? And that was the most the most difficult moment of my life whenever she told me that. And then I walked out of there and was like, okay, I guess I have to accept being dead soon, and I don't know what else to do.
So again, many people who face cancer, who face these difficult diagnoses, very easy to kind of feel sorry for yourself and get into this hopeless feeling. How did you avoid that rut, and how did you maintain an exceedingly positive attitude?
Man, so when that diagnosis came in, it was not positive at all. I walked out and I literally, I had people telling me or texting me, what's the diagnosis? What's the diagnosis? And I just had to be very frank. I said, it's not good. I don't know what a stage 4 glioblastoma tumor is, but apparently it's the worst that you can get. And she gave me a 1 to 10 year life expectancy, and she said nothing can be done. Here's what's even worse too, is my dad was in the office, my parents were there. And again, I get it. The keto research is very recent. I understand that. But my dad said, hey, so should he maybe just I don't know, stop eating something and start eating something? Should he cut out sugar? Should he do anything specific? And she was like, no, I'm sorry. Whether he eats sugar or doesn't, it really won't have any correlation to this. It's just the way it is. And so when I left there, I was just mind blown. And I was obviously in a very depressed state in my own mind, but I still I didn't think there was anything that could be done. My parents, I didn't even know this. They were actually doing a bunch of research behind the scenes in that time. And suddenly I had a mentor of mine, say, hey, Logan, I want to meet up and just, chat and see how everything is going. And I was like, okay, sure. He's like, let's go paddleboarding and let's just chat. So lo and behold, I was actually paddleboarding, and I'll show you real quick. You can see out here, that's the Austin River. And it was 6 years ago. I was paddleboarding out there, and he said, hey, have you heard of this thing called the keto diet? And I was like, never heard of it. What is it? He was like, well, I was actually in Hawaii, and they actually naturally do the ketogenic diet because that's just what they do. And they've done it for years and years. And apparently it has research showing that it could either shrink tumors or prevent tumor regrowth. And he said, it's not popular, but it's something that's out there. And he was like, I would definitely look into it and see what it does. So I've always been I've always been one that loves to be on a mission. I just love going on a mission. And if I know how I can achieve that mission, I get super excited. And so I literally was up till 3 a.m. that night, just looking up keto diet, benefits of keto. I was like, wow, okay, I did have a seizure. They did give me temozolomide to prevent seizures. They said, you'll have a seizure once a month for the rest of your life. So take this pill. And I was like, whoa, okay, so this is proven to beat seizures. And I was like, I want to get lean. I was like, wow, okay. That's exactly what I wanted to do on day one that I had the seizure, was just go through a lean building phase in my body. And then I saw could potentially shrink or prevent tumor regrowth. And I was like, wow, this is getting really, really cool. And so I just got super excited that it was potentially something there. And literally the next day I started keto. I wasn't obviously a keto master because I had no idea what I was doing. And the rest became mystery. So.
and just for those people who don't know exactly what ketogenic diet is, what exactly is a diet? Give us your average day. What do you eat? Breakfast, lunch, dinner?
Yeah, so short answer is high fat, medium protein, low carb diet, right? There's different variables and ways of doing keto depending on your situation. Obviously, if you're, wanting to potentially shrink a tumor, go very high fat, medium to low protein, and obviously very low carb. So I started out, I just looked up and I was like, oh, okay, bulletproof coffee. I was like, sure, all right, let's try that. So I did that for breakfast, and then I think I made an egg and ham muffin. So it was just literally a muffin made out of eggs and ham or something. And then for that dinner, I had I think a fish, avocado, and asparagus, something very, very simple. And as time went by, I started looking up more about beating cancer. And I was like, intermittent fasting. I was like, okay, so what is this all about? And then I saw how like you can implement that with keto. And I was like, okay, I'll try that. And plus I wasn't even that hungry, because if you've never done keto, for those on here, like you're not going to get hungry consistently. So I tried fasting, and I was like, okay, 16-hour fasting. I was like, sure. And then I saw this thing called autophagy, and I was like, okay, potentially it could help immune system to prevent, tumors. And I was like, all right, well, let's do 18 to 20-hour fasting a day. So as the time went by, I started getting pretty good with it. And I started just like documenting, what I was doing every day. People were like, what is this thing? And I was like, keto? I'm just trying it out. And like, people were so intrigued. And just, again, nobody was talking about it on social media. Like, yeah, there was some research, but it was not this, like, if you typed in keto on Instagram, you just wouldn't find much. And so it started really, really growing. And then I eventually got to doing one meal a day for like an entire, I think, year and a half, probably. So I was doing at least 20 to 24-hour fasting every single day for a year. And that was not easy, right? But it took time to build into that level. And then as the years have gone by, I still do about 18 to 20 hours of fasting a day right now. I just recently completed a 5.5-day fast. That was fun. I've
By fun, you mean torture.
Yeah. I mean, it was something I knew. I was like, just do it. Like, you have to, like, you don't have to do it, but it's just do it, right? It's like, what's the reason why you wouldn't do it? So I did it, and I've done a bunch of 2-day fasts. And then, now I'm still doing keto. I really focused on, like, and I recommend this for everybody. I don't care what, everyone's diet is, but food quality is absolutely crucial. It's like, don't go to McDonald's doing keto, like, go actually have quality food during keto. And so that was another huge thing that I brought into play. I don't know if you've looked up Dr. Berg on Insta or on YouTube at all, but I'm very close to Dr. Berg, and he's been kind of a keto mentor of mine through the years. And he's one who kind of taught me like food quality, fasting, this and that. And so, yeah.
Well, I want to get into your mental state, because I feel like that is so unique, and that's really gotten you to where you are. Explain the power of the mind, especially hope, grit, and perseverance. A lot of people in your position would have given up a long time ago. And even though maybe physically they're the same as you, mentally they're not. So explain the power of mental fortitude when dealing with something like cancer.
Oh man, yeah, it's one of those things where, like, I love doctors. Like, they are super freaking intelligent, because I'm not a doctor, right? It takes a lot of freaking work. But just because of somebody's own intelligence or their own belief that you can or can't do something should not determine your own situation. What really motivates me is that, like, everybody is just trying to figure it out, okay? I don't care if you are the best doctor in human history or if you're the patient with the worst diagnosis. Everybody is trying to figure it out. So when you look at it from a perspective of, like, yes, you're super intelligent, I'm intelligent, we all are. But if you look at it from a perspective of we're all trying to figure it out, then it kind of takes a step back, where it's like, okay, if we're all just trying to figure it out here, what could I figure out for my own self that could give me some hope that this is possible? So my biggest advice is, don't let somebody else determine where and how your life is going to go, because it almost was like, whenever she told me that, like, I'm not getting spiritual, but it was almost like she was being a god to me, of like, you're going to be dead soon. Nothing can happen, or nothing will be fixed. And I'm like, what? I'm like, this doesn't logically make sense here. If you are determining my life, it honestly, like, again, it really just, it pissed me off. Like, it just pissed me off. And I felt that there was something else that could be done.
Now, do you feel like your medical story is translatable to other major life events?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Funny you asked that question. I don't want to publicly say what I'm in the works of. I can tell you maybe off this call, but it's around basically what you just said right there. Because in my situation, it's one of the worst diagnoses that anybody in the health world could ever get, right? So if it's one of the worst, and I truly believe that it's possible to overcome this thing, then anybody can really do that in their own way. And if nobody knows who Joe Dispenza is, I highly recommend going to watch what he does. There have been people who have had like extremely severe leukemia, extremely severe tumors that have had it literally removed all through their mind. Now, again, I'm not saying it's a walk in the park. It's like some serious training, but it's literally the power of the mind that can really spark a lot of different things. And going to the mindset piece, I haven't done psychedelics. I'm still kind of in my learning phase of that. But I have done a lot of meditation. I've done a serious amount of meditation to really visualize, actually visualize my tumor. I know it sounds a little bit crazy here because people are like, well, just no, don't think about it. But it depends on how you're thinking about it. And the way that I meditate on this is the fact that I meditate on looking at my tumor. Okay, I don't meditate on it being here. I meditate on looking at it. So when I look at it, it's not in me, it's outside of me. So it's not part of me, right? I've let it go and I control that, right? And so this applies to a lot of different things in my life. And I don't know if you guys have seen Mr. Incredible movie at all. But there's the one character, that girl who has that shield around her, right? Nothing can penetrate that shield, nothing at all, right? So I visualize whenever I'm meditating, that shield around me, nothing can penetrate that, right? So when I have that shield around me and I look outside of that shield, there's the tumor, there's my seizure, there's a diagnosis, there's other health problems I've had, there's whatever that is. It's all outside of me and nothing can penetrate that shield unless I let it. So when I really like meditate on that, it really, I believe, builds my subconscious mind that this thing is genuinely not coming back. And when you really believe that and really put that in your mind, it then lays out a path, I think, to your life of seeing where your life really is going. And it kind of lets go of the past. Not that you can't say it never happened, but you can say you've let it go, and now you're on your own journey. So
now let me ask your opinion. You know, it's been said that adversity, if it's handled appropriately, is the greatest opportunity in life for growth and development. Do you agree with that?
100%. I believe, again, that's why my book is called Thank You Cancer. It's not called, F you cancer, right? It's like, I'm not glad I necessarily got it, but it's like, if I could go back and if I were to decide between two paths, either you don't have this tumor and your life goes like this, or you have this tumor and your life goes like this, meaning if I can go back and look at like where I'm at now, and if I knew that this is where I was going to go, I'd be like, I'm grateful and I'm ready for this opportunity. So I wouldn't be talking to you, I don't think, or helping people on here, if I didn't have this. So it's like, who knows what I'd be.
Amazing. That's amazing, man. What an amazing way to look at what has transpired. Many people, like I said, would have had this diagnosis, immediately felt sorry for themselves, given up hope. And the way that you turn that around from a negative into a positive is just remarkable. So let me ask you, what was the single biggest challenge you have faced since your diagnosis with brain cancer?
Man,
that's tough. I know you probably had a lot, but if you could just pick one.
I think there's always a few. And I think when you look at a lot of different opinions, right? I think it's like, I've had people say like, yo, like, dude, don't like, stop, don't eat vegetables. You have to have this. Like, and I've had people say like, dude, stop, like, don't eat meat because meat can give you cancer. And then it's like, and then I've had like, dude, like, you have to go literally live in a cave. Like, stop, don't live downtown. Like, stop, and I've had like, literally like, bro, like, dude, honestly, like if I were you, like, I would just say, you know what, forget it. Like, I'm going to go travel the world because dude, things could be worse in a year. And I'm like, yeah, bro, like, of course things can be worse in a year. This applies to everybody. Like, you could get hit by a bus tomorrow. And it's not that you got planned to get hit by a bus, but it could happen, right? So, and I'm not going to go live my life saying, well, doctor's right, I'll be dead in a year. So you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to live life as if I'll be dead, right? And I don't want to live life as if I'll be dead. I'm going to live life like almost nothing happened, in the sense of like, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be wealthy, I'm going to pursue my dreams, and I'm on my own path. So that's kind of my biggest thing, is that like, really believe it here in your own self, because again, everyone's trying to figure it out. And when you truly believe everyone is just trying to figure it out, take advice, hear about opinions, but take it as a grain of salt. Don't take it as like, oh, this is an actual fact that, he's right. I should never eat meat again, or I should only eat vegetables. And that's it, right? Yeah, that's my life, right? Like, do your own research, believe in your own self is really the biggest thing.
Is that your biggest life lesson? I mean, since you're such an inspiration and a role model to many, would you say that that is your biggest life lesson or advice you would give people?
That's one of my biggest advices, is that when you look at it, of everybody is just trying to figure it out, you realize what you're capable of. Because again, if I just took what Dr. whatever said, that you can't do anything and that you should just go eat donuts all day and that's okay, and then I'm like, wait, but it doesn't really make sense. And it's so sad, because a lot of people, they're like, yeah, it does make sense. Like, I'll eat Dunkin' Donuts every day and that's okay. Like, that's how they see it. And I've literally had patients, I've had people, I get probably at least 1 or 2 messages a day. Hey, my daughter, my dad, my brother, whatever, has a tumor. It's very bad. He doesn't believe in keto. He doesn't believe that anything can happen. And I say, why do you think that they don't believe that? Well, because the doctor said that nothing can get fixed and that they'll be dead soon. I'm like, okay, so that's it right there. You have to realize that the doctor is insanely intelligent, but that's not the one all be all. There's so many other things in this world that you can do and look at that'll give him and her hope that something is possible. And so that's what I'd say, is everyone's just trying to figure it out.
Now I'm going to wrap it up here because it's been half an hour and I know you're busy. One last question. It ties back to your book, which everyone should read. It's a best-selling book, but do you believe that anything is truly impossible?
I think when you really believe something, nothing is impossible. I mean, you can go look at, there's even more crazy stories than mine, that people have achieved things that are absurdly impossible. And again, one of the most crazy is like, who's the guy who ran the first 4-minute mile, right? Every human was saying, no, this is physically impossible to run a 4-minute mile. You can't do it. And somebody's like, well, I'm going to try it. And he did it. And now what happened? Now anybody can run less than a 4-minute mile. So it's like, when you really believe something, when you actually take action, right? There's stages, there's belief and there's action. And now there's results. If you take those 3 steps, like, you can literally turn anything impossible to now being possible. But if you just stick in the whole belief and then, like, this is what he said and she said, and you don't take action on it, then you'll never really know if it's possible. So, it always seems impossible until it is done. It's a Nelson Mandela quote that literally I've lived my life by forever.
Man, you are just amazing. I could talk to you all day because you're such an inspiration. But seriously, man, the way that you approached such a difficult diagnosis, I wish all of my patients had that same attitude. I can tell you that I wish my patients, each and every one of them, had that same mentality of yours of, okay, don't feel sorry for myself. Use this adversity as an opportunity for growth and development, and turn that negative into a positive. And your book is amazing and your story is amazing. And I'm going to send all my patients your way just so they can talk to you. I hope you don't mind.
Of course, man. Send them to me. And again, it's one of those things like, yeah, my tumor was 100% removed, right? It was fully removed. So that's a blessing that a lot of people don't have, right? There are people who can't get a tumor removed, or else they just die in the surgery, right? So there are those situations, but I have heard stories of people who have had literally tumors that can't be removed, that have done a 7-day fast, and it literally has almost completely been gone. And it's like, it's not easy to do that fast. Again, I don't recommend it if you've never done fasting before, but work your way to it and realize that this is an opportunity to go from, like, dead, from what a doctor said, hey, we can't do surgery, to holy crap, this thing is almost like literally gone because of one thing that you did and you saw what was possible. So
unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Keep doing what you're doing. Super inspirational.
Man, thank you so much. Keep up the great work. It's awesome to see that you guys have a crazy job.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. All right. Have a great weekend.
Yes, sir. You as well.